to the show. Well, I have got Ray Bartel in the studio with me, and the reason I've got Ray in is because, well, if you're in a community and you want to know how to grow your community and keep the profits in your community, Ray's the guy, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Ray, welcome to the show. I really
you.
appreciate you taking the time in. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of how you've actually developed this to keep profits in the community, as I'm putting it, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how this all started for you?
Sure. So 2006, I took my whole family, left WA and went to Papua New Guinea. So, as you do.
As you do.
That's right. So if you look at a map of Papua New Guinea and you put your finger straight in the middle, you've got the Western Highlands.
Yep.
And that's where we were based for 5 years in Mount Hagen.
Bit of a wild frontier.
Well, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, a bit of an adventure there.
it was.
What took you there?
Okay, so there was a need for a director of education for an NGO up there. Oh. And I come from a business and education background because I used to be a business manager in a school. And so I thought that's a nice kind of fit for the role there. They had a number of schools just dotted around the country, but there was no system of coordination for those schools.
Okay.
And so they said, look, we need a director of education to build a system office, build the capacity of local people in that office to then be able to coordinate the schools.
Okay.
So that was my role. It was a capacity building role.
Yeah. You know, when you get taken into a role like that, what did it take you away from? Because obviously, I mean, I'm presuming in the past you didn't go around to different countries helping schools set up.
Correct.
You used to work in private schools in Western Australia. Here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it took me away from a really well-paid job. So there was a fair bit that I had to give up. I think it was like a 90% cut in my pay. Wow. You know, but at the end of the day, we didn't have all the expenses back here that we had to cover. Yeah. Living over there, you know, we could live off fruit and veggies and whatnot a lot cheaper, so I didn't need that level of income. And I wouldn't feel right about having a high income when a lot of people in that vicinity, or the local people, don't have a high income either.
When you're saying you were going to go over there, just to put this into perspective, at that time we were just about to come into a property boom here in Western Australia.
Correct.
And just because of what we've talked about, you were aiming to go, oh, this would be a good thing for us to jump in. Yeah. So you sacrificed that for this. That's
correct. So my wife Trish and I, we were encouraged in the I guess when we were very young to move towards buying property. Yeah. That was something that my father taught me. It's something that my mother did when she was young and her grandfather taught her. And so it sort of filtered down. It was like, you must get into property. And so we built up a bit of a portfolio of about 4 properties. Yeah. And just before the boom, which we could see the boom was taking place, we were at this fork in the roads. What are we going to do? Are we going to go and, you know, head down towards a Mullaloo strip? Or are we going to say, no, we're not going to go down that way. We're going to give back to the community and to move into community development space. And that's the direction that we took. Okay. No regrets. No regrets.
So, you went to, apart from a little hiccup, but you went to Papua New Guinea. Who got you there and how did they convince you to get there?
Yeah, look, I think it took me 2 years beforehand. So from 2003, I had a bit of a stirring that I needed to do something different. And, you know, I was sort of ignoring that for a couple of years until it sort of came to head and I thought, no, I just can't keep doing what I'm doing. So then I get this email out of the blue from my brother-in-law who's a medical superintendent in a place called Kompium, Kompium District Hospital in Enga Province. And he says, Ray, he says, I'm a doctor, I heal people physically. Yeah. He said, PNG needs another kind of doctor too. And that's like a money doctor, a business doctor, an education doctor. So we need those kinds of people. And he said, you've got the skills for that. And he said, here's an NGO that needs your help. Right. So I guess what the pull was not only desire to help I guess, the marginalised, but we had family in country too. So that was a fairly nice kind of, you know.
Okay. So when you went there and you started building helping the schools there,
Yeah.
how did it go from helping the schools suddenly go transpiring to helping build the community around that school?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we were part of a AusAid, as it was called then, funded project. There was what was called the Churches Partnership Program.
Yeah.
And in the very early stages of that program, they had this blend of normal recurrent funding for recruitment of staff. You could also put some money as a co-contribution towards buildings and things like that. So it was a very flexible kind of program, which was great. Typical of a lot of programs, then you tend to get a lot of regulation comes in and then it restricts.
Yeah.
However, the flexibility at the time meant that we could really do quite a number of things. And one of the things that we thought we would do is say to the community, if you're able to get some school fees together,
Yeah.
then we may be able to get a bit of a matching grant towards that. And some of these schools didn't pay any school fees for many years because of it wasn't their capacity to pay.
Yeah.
It was their willingness to pay because the money was being misappropriated. So anyway, then all of a sudden this money just comes flooding into the school, right? Then we've got this other funding that we could match to that, and then we thought, we've got enough money to build a classroom here. That's awesome. And so in answer to your question, what we decided was we're not going to go to Moresby and get people to come in with steel frame buildings and to, you know, have the best kind of facility.
Okay.
What was more important was what can we do from a community building point of view? So we decided to go with local carpenters.
So you're telling me that where a normal traditional business would go for quality,
Correct?
you went, there's a different type of quality, and it's going to be the quality that we can get from the quality that it will bring to the community.
Absolutely. That's what we were looking at. And so the result was that we had local carpenters or local builders. They then employed local carpenters. And so those local carpenters needed to be fed, right?
Yeah.
So then you have the ladies who were the chicken farmers. So they would then start buying chickens in from town, raising chickens, raising all, you know, getting all the vegetables and whatnot together to feed all these guys. And so you had this flow-on effect. And so as a decision because of that decision, it had this flow-on effect from a financial capital point of view. And that just does a whole lot for building trust.
Yeah, and I can see how that would build a community. You kept the money within the community,
Correct.
but it's kind of, compounded on itself because everyone starts interacting.
That's right.
Apart from the money aspect, what other benefits did you see it brought to the actual community itself?
Look, one of the things that really emerged, particularly in my studies after what we'd seen, was that every community has strengths. So we often look at a place like Papua New Guinea and you hear words like basket case.
Right.
You hear, you know, typical stereotyped kind of notions. And so I went in there with an open mind to say, you know, every community has got to have some kind of strengths. And the thing that emerges is the role of community development is to identify the strengths of a community, bring them to the surface, then mobilise those strengths towards the common good.
Yeah.
And you know that was a big takeaway lesson. But other lessons were that I had to put aside my Western notions of what I believed was the right way to go about development. So I had to do that because I had some fairly big lessons, and I gained an appreciation for Indigenous knowledge.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You start getting into some of the cultures, like the deeper cultures that have been around for many, many years.
Of course.
And you start picking up on, you start going, whoa, hold on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it does open your eyes.
Yeah, they've certainly got a lot to teach us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that teaching, you did your PhD when you came back.
Yes.
But that teaching led you to make this business, And can you describe what it is that you brought back with you and went, you know what, I can take the teachings from here and apply them into our communities?
Yeah, absolutely. So I came back with a bit of a desire to see the same sort of community that I saw taking place in Papua New Guinea, to see that replicated here. Because the more I was looking around, I saw people had fragmented lives, disengaged to certain levels, and I saw that there was this desire for community, but it just wasn't there. And I thought, can we bring something of what we've learnt across into our own context? And I guess the narratives of my life all came together to form what is now what we call B2Me.
Yep.
So if you unpack B2Me, so it's a notion of bringing business to me,
Yep.
but also brings the notion of the business down to the individual, so you can find out who the person is behind the brand. So B2Me is a services finding platform.
Okay.
So I want a service,
Yep.
not only a plumber or electrician, but it might be a photographer.
Yep.
It could be a counsellor, it could be an accountant. So a turnkey solution where I could type it in and find someone that was within my friends network or in my trusted community connections.
You said something interesting there. We'll go deeper into what you're just saying then, but I just want to reflect back. And one thing I've always believed in, always the person is the brand. And we see it quite often. We're in West Australia, and a classic of that would be John Hughes. You don't drive down his street and see the actual car brand names all over his yard. You see his name.
Of course.
Everything. And you said that just then. You wanted people to step forward and be the brand.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, one of the frustrations that I have had in the past when I've been looking for service providers is, and I've actually experimented with different people. And I've said, if you're wanting a plumber, what do you do? They say, oh, Google it.
Yeah.
So I've said, well, sit down and do it. I'd like to see what happens. So they sit down and they type it in, and it comes up with a bunch of business names. Now, then I say, well, what now? I don't know, take a bit of a stab in the dark. I'm like...
He's on page one.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So, so I said, are you happy with that? They're like, no, not really.
Yeah.
I said, well, wouldn't it be nice to actually be able to choose someone that was within your network? With people, because at the end of the day, you want someone you know, like and trust, right?
Yeah.
So there were a couple of things that were taking place, and the thing that has happened is Facebook and Instagram have changed business world forever.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, we're now in a people economy. People want to know who is the person behind this brand. Can I actually trust them? Because a business name doesn't mean a whole lot to me.
I can tell you, my daughter, when I was sitting at her place, this is what really struck me, and this was a couple of years ago. She wanted to take her husband out to an Italian restaurant. I went, oh yeah. And I was expecting, in my day it was all yellow pages, by the way, I was expecting Google. Well, she didn't. She actually jumped on Facebook and she said, I want to take Ian out to a restaurant, Italian restaurant. This is where I live. Any of you guys got any suggestions? She basically asked her friends' network and she got 4 or 5 suggestions, and from that, she selected.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's really where we've tried to target. I was looking at some marketing survey information from Nielsen that they carried one out recently, 2015, and across the world globally, there were 30,000 people interviewed, 60, I think there was 60 countries, and they said, what is the number one kind of way that you make a choice? And it was all word of mouth.
Yeah.
So I think it was something like 85 or 90% of people said word of mouth is the way to go. And so I thought to myself, well, what platforms out there actually facilitate that process?
Yeah.
And I was just struggling to find anything.
Yeah. How important do you think it is for the person to put themselves in front of the company, for it to be their face and their name?
I think increasingly it's becoming more and more important. As I said, if you look at Instagram, businesses are jumping on board and they're trying to show the human element.
Yes.
Why would they be doing that if there was no demand for that?
True.
So, you know, that's the way that the shift is going now. So, but being a person-orientated site means you can actually bring a social media component to it, which is really exciting. So with B2Me, the great thing is that you can search for someone's name. I can search for a service provider if I know their name, and they can have their own directory of service providers they use. So if I want to know who Joe Smith uses for his accountant, I can search for his name, look in his directory, it's all there.
I'm smiling because we used to run a building company. I can imagine if you'd searched me on that, you would have found out my electricians, my plumbers, my and you would have been going, well, you're a builder. If you use them, they must be okay.
Absolutely. And the great thing is it's not only for service providers. So if you're a service seeker, you can log in and you too can keep a directory of service providers you use.
Right.
And so as people are connected on the platform, then when it comes to finding a service provider, your job is easier because then their avatars appear on the names of people that they're using that are in your connections. So you start to see all the connections, which makes your job easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're on that, so do people on your platform give ratings for their service provider, or is it just the fact that they're listed there and said, well, I've used XYZ plumbers, so you can actually see who I've actually decided? Do I decide who comes on my list? Yes,
you do. So you have the rights to go on someone's page and click on a little heart that says add to my providers. So you're in full control of who's in your directory. So that certainly is available for you.
Where do you see this going? Your platform now, because to me, I can see how it helps build community, and as we said at the beginning of the show, keeping the profits, because if you're using everyone within your community, the profits and the exponential growth comes in there. Where do you see this going for your business though?
Yeah, look, in terms of the modelling and how this is set up, and I probably should have said this before, I don't know if you've heard of Dunbar's Law. Dunbar's Law says that we've all got 150 genuine connections.
Right, okay.
Within that group, that's pretty well conceptually all we can deal with. Each of those 150 have got their own 150 connections. So within your own first and second degree connections, you've got 22,500 people or so that you've got direct access to.
I'm glad you did the maths.
Yeah, that's right. So there's a fair network within your own network. So why do you have to go to the extent of paying a big money for SEO, development, something that none of us really even understand how it works?
No.
And paying big advertising dollars for that when you've already got a clear network that you can use. So, sorry, I missed that out before in what you're saying. In terms of where we're going with this, they say with startups the important thing is to go hyper-local. So you work within a small geographic region, test it out, see how you're going, refine it, and then scale from there. So my thinking is that we're launching in Joondalup. City of Joondalup's a great city. It's very innovative, terrific people. You've got projects like The Link, where you have a connection between the City of Joondalup and also Edith Cowan University, and they're linking with businesses and supporting them in the journey. So we're really blessed to be connected with that group. Perth's just a great market to be able to do startups. It really is. And so then our plan is to build the network to a point that then we're ready to go for investment. And then once we get some investment, then we'll scale from there.
So when you're on this journey, how important was it for you at the beginning you hear a lot of people say about their values, and yours seems to be resonating very strongly through here.
Yeah, absolutely.
How important do you think values are in determining direction and how you're actually going to structure and grow the business? Yeah, look, I would say in the first 6 months of building the business, I engaged a values coach. And I had that person come in, Karen Robinson from Mango Group. And I said, look, Karen, I really feel that I need to get my values down pat, and I need to make sure that my purpose is clear. Because unless I have my why right at the beginning, when the hard times come, I'm just going to pack it in. That's just the reality of it.
And it was really interesting because Amy, my daughter, she handles all my social media side of things on Facebook and Instagram. And, you know, even she came to me with the question. She said, Dad, what is the why here? What is the purpose behind what I'm actually doing?
Yeah.
And so they were key questions to address from the very, very beginning. And so I was really blessed to be able to work with this coach and get the values down pat, get the purpose right.
Yeah.
And that is now filtering through all of our promotional material.
Because you hear a lot of people talk about mission statements, you know, and quite often I go into places and see it hanging on the wall, and I think it was all written by the same mission statement boy, because they're empty.
Yeah.
They're just generic pieces of paper.
Sure.
But you've really gone to work and gotten your purpose down to drive it. When you did your purpose and your values, did it then give you like a distinctive set of capabilities that you went, you know what, this is where we can really excel?
Yeah, look, I guess I'm middle-aged now, and so you reflect on a lot of things in life, and I would say that as a startup, your business tends to be a reflection of you and your values.
Yes.
And for me, it was actually a process of soul searching. And so the values came to head in that over that few months that we were developing it. But I'd be actually preparing that, probably the term of my natural life, right? So it was very, very clear. Once we put all these things down, it just made sense. And my coach said, this is you, Ray. And so your business is going to be an extension or reflection of who you are as a person and the things that you hold dear. And I was really excited by that.
Yeah.
I thought, well, this is fantastic.
Has that affected how you've engaged with support staff for yourself? You know, people on the outside of you suddenly say, well, I need to get your services. Do you look at them and say, well, I want to make sure you're a match with me so it's congruent with everything I'm doing?
Yeah, look, I was reading a book once by a guy called Billy Graham, and it was The Leadership Secrets of Billy Graham. And he said, when you select your team, find people that you've got good chemistry with.
Yes.
So he didn't go for people that were the most highly skilled. He went with people that, you know what, we've got a really good kind of...
We're on the same page.
We're on the same page, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when I was in Papua New Guinea and I was putting my team together, I had a range of different people. They were not necessarily the most skilled or trained at the time, but were they relatable? Did we have a good relationship? Absolutely. Did they have a heart and a passion for the work that they were going to be doing? Absolutely. And so when it came to putting my team together to build B2Me, I was... Yes, skills were very important, but I was like, what are we like? How we sort of, is there the chemistry here?
Yeah.
Do you believe in my why? Do you believe in my purpose? And if you're on the page with the purpose, we'll be fine.
It's interesting, you know, I was often taught that you can teach people skills, but you can't teach people their own internal values.
Yeah,
people
correct.
as they are. So if you select people first, you can always upskill them later.
Yes,
and it's interesting you're saying that. And I'm listening to you and you said, you know, like when you built the school, you went, yeah, well, I could have gone down to Moresby and picked the highly skilled, but I didn't. I went for the community and chose its skills because it was, the benefit was outweighed getting steel or a better quality product.
Yeah.
And then there you are picking your team, not based on the person who's the most highly skilled, but again, you're picking, no, my qualities that I'm looking for are a different set because you know that will grow exponentially within you.
That's right. And as it turns out, you know, they say also choose people that you think are better than you. And
Yes.
so these people were better than me in their field and as it turns out, very, very skilled as well. So great result.
One of the things I've often hear from people is they'll try and get the plan perfect before they'll launch their business. You know, we are a business channel with a lot of business people looking. What's your statement to them? They say, look, have you dotted all your I's, crossed all your T's before you went forward?
We started building our platform, well, actually the design part of it, less than 12 months ago. So June, July last year.
Yep.
So from the original design work and mapping to launch date, you're pretty well looking at a 12-month turnaround, which is
Pretty quick.
really quick, yeah. But we took an agile development approach from the very beginning. So I had my hypothesis of what I thought was needed and what would work. And so we pulled together a few groups of people, some who were service providers and other people who were service finders. And we pulled them into a meeting at Joondalup Resort, and we said, look, let's talk this through. Then as we got sketches, some ideas, we put them up on the board. What's your feedback? And so we've taken this agile approach, getting feedback from people, so that we didn't get to a point where we had a hypothesis, we then built, and then we wanted to test it on the market. We were testing it all the way through. But we weren't looking for a perfect platform. Because if you try to go for a perfect platform, you could potentially go down heaps of rabbit holes and waste a lot of money. So we wanted something where we had a minimal viable product, but something that was really classy, something that was nice and simple to use, and did the job. And so we think by launch, we've definitely exceeded our minimal viable product and have something that's actually very marketable.
Interesting you're saying your approach, and you call it agile, and my phraseology is always it's got to be renewable. I'm often looking for words that need to be, because it's never perfect. Is that what you intend to do as you keep going, you keep that agility? Is that going to be one of your platforms or one of your methodologies?
Absolutely, and I think it has to be if we want to remain relevant to the marketplace. So as we have a help desk that's all connected to the site, and as people are logging different requests, we're making a note of what are the issues that are being raised here. So every fortnight in our team meetings, we get together and we say, right, these are the themes that are coming up. Let's put these into our priority list, re-look at what the initial needs are. And so we're having very, very quick turnaround in terms of response times to people's issues. So that's helping to build trust.
Launching your business or getting your business off the ground, what would you say has been one of your biggest challenges that you had to overcome?
I would tend to say I'm a very task-orientated person. P&G has actually taught me to become a lot more relational in the process, which is good. But I have an idea and I just want to run with it. I want to get it done. And I want to move on it.
I'm smiling because you sound like me.
And it's like, get out of the way, we're coming through, right? So that's my type of approach. And so going to market, the fact is I've been on this journey. I know intimately every part of this, most parts of this system. I can't expect other people who aren't familiar with the methodology, with how this works, to be able to start using it in terms of its full functionality. So the biggest lesson I think I'm learning at the moment is to be patient. To say it's not about going fast, it's not about going quick, it's about going well and doing it well and having something good quality. So it's a lesson of patience for me.
That's excellent. As I say, I always ask people this question because we have business people all over. What's a piece of business advice you would share with another business operator or a startup or someone who's already in business? They're going, what's something you'd share with them that you think is really helpful for helping you along the journey?
Look, I think when you've got a startup, you've got in your mind how you think something's going to work. And one of the big risks is that you hold on to that too tight and you're too precious with it. And you've got to be prepared to let go of some stuff. And, that can take a bit of doing, but I'd say surround yourself with great mentors. Surround yourself with people that have been there, have done that. They can then help you through the highs and the lows. When it comes time to maybe go for awards or what have you, they can help you to refine your pitch and also ask you the hard questions. So I'd say, get good mentors around you and be prepared to learn from the process and not hold things too tight.
I do like that, and I've often said to people in startups, probably what you're starting with today is not what it's going to look like.
That's right.
In 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time. You
Yeah.
know, and I think businesses morph, and I believe that agility and the flexibility that you talk about is really, really important for
Yeah.
businesses. So, B2Me.
Yes.
How do people find out more about it, and where do we go to?
Where do you go?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we've got social media channels, so you can go to B2Me Australia and
Now,
find
this
us.
is the letter B with the number 2.
Correct.
And then ME.
ME, yes. It's B2Me Australia. So you can find us on Facebook. Also go on Instagram, check out our Instagram posts, keep up to date with our stories. So that's B2Me Australia as well. And even though we're launching on the 12th of July, which is our official public launch,
Yes.
there's nothing to stop service providers from going on right now and registering their business. We've eclipsed our Founders 500. That was our goal by the date of launch.
Wow.
Whole range of different industries that are in there represented. So the website is at the moment, because it's in its early release form, is pilot, PILOT, .b2me.com.au.
Yeah.
And then post 12th July, it'll just be b2me.com.au. And you can find us there.
Fantastic. It's been absolutely fantastic having you on the
great.
show. I really appreciate you sharing your inside story.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll have another chat as you grow this thing. It'd be fascinating to see exactly where it goes and successes.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.